esteemed viewers, welcome to today's video. I'm going to be talking about the books that I read during August, so let's begin. The first book is Lore of the Deep, Folklore and Wisdom from the Watery Wilds. This is by Claire Cox-Starkey and it is folklore middle grade. It's a book that explores things such as the ancient sailor traditions, shape-shifting underwater spirits, and dives into the lore behind gods and goddesses of the oceans. This is one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. I had previously read another book in this series which was more about the land. So when I saw this one, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to dive into this one too, particularly because deep water will always just have this weird kind of feeling for me. It's like a frightening allure, I guess I could describe it as. I love the idea of there's more to it. Same sort of feeling I get when I think too deeply about space. I kind of existentially spiral into a little bit of fear, but I love that there's more to explore and it's so beautiful, and there's lots of hidden treasures there in terms of creatures, sea life, you know, plants and nature. But at the same time, it really freaks me out. It just really fills me with a dark pit of despair when I think about how deep it goes and how much is unexplored. But I did love seeing all the different cultures' folklore on the deep waters, as well as sort of the lore and legends of the type of creatures that may inhabit the murky depths. Next up, I was trying to do a little bit of a Stephen King summer, so I got to my second book, which was The Life of Chuck, which was originally a short story in, I think the collection was If It Bleeds. So this one is kind of like slice of life, and I believe a film is coming out this year for the masses. I'm pretty sure a couple of years ago it was featured in one of those kind of like independent viewings. Is it the Sundance, the something film festival? So it was independently made around lockdown, I think. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that coming to the bigger cinemas for us to enjoy and view. So The Life of Chuck is a story that unfolds in reverse, which is quite interesting to read. We are basically going through Chuck's life and the legacy he leaves behind. The kind of ethos is when a person dies, they're leaving more than just, you know, their husk of a body. There's a whole world inside that dies along with them, and that was quite a moving, heartbreaking, sentimental thing to think about, I think, especially if you have lost those close to you. It really did put me in this weird kind of melancholy mood where it was both uplifting and beautiful, but also really very sad and gentle. I think the way the story being told in it unfolding backwards was a really powerful move, and I quite liked that dynamic to the telling. You're literally seeing him pass away, which isn't a spoiler, that's like, you know, that's going to happen, and then it unfolds to him learning secrets as a young child in the attic of his grandparents' house. And it's a little bit magical realism, a little bit supernatural, but very much slice of life and philosophical, I would say. I was smiling one moment and I turned the page, and the next minute that smile would be wiped clean off my face. It was one of those stories where it just really put your life into perspective and reflection, and I really enjoyed that. So I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Super emotional, and I can't wait to see the movie. I think it's starring Tom Hiddleston, who I really love, so I'm looking forward to that. Okay, the book I read after that, I listened as like an audiobook and a physical book. I haven't got these to physically show you because when I have borrowed them physically and even audibly, they've been from the library or something. So this one is Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin, and it is sort of like trans horror, body horror, gore. It was intense, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. We're following Beth and Fran as they hunt feral men to harvest their organs in order to stave off the testosterone filled disease that is plaguing the world in this time. So this just gave me like a wave of emotions. It was super gripping and gory, and it really had a unique spin on your classic dystopian, almost like end of world trope. I do think where it fell flat a little bit for me was the overuse of sex. It was so intense that at times it felt like an erotica, which is something I don't really care about, but because I didn't expect that going in, I thought it was just going to be like straight up gore and horror, and also like an interesting take on transness and bodies. I just didn't expect so much sex. I don't know. And it really took me out of the story. I guess if you are in a situation like that, you might well be wanting to have sex because you don't know when your last time on earth is. I know for me personally, well, I wouldn't know actually because I've never been in this situation where the end of the world is imminent, but I would want to be running and hiding and trying to get as much food or whatever. I don't know, but sex would be the last thing on my mind. It just felt like that was at the forefront of a lot of the characters' headspace, and it just didn't really make a lot of sense for me personally. That's just something that pulled me away from the story. Overall though, it was brilliant. I think I would like to do a full video review for this one because it had me feeling like all the feels. It was brilliant. I'm so glad I read this one. Next up, I read a digital book. This one was How to Survive a Slasher by Justine Pacella Winners. This one is a YA horror thriller and I really enjoyed this one. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's described as You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, which I really liked, by Kaylin Ballon, and Scream, which, funny enough, although I really enjoy horror, I don't think I've ever seen a Scream movie. It's just not the type of horror that I gravitate towards, I guess. I don't really know. Never got a chance to watch them, I suppose. So our main character is CJ Smith, and their hometown is basically a site of horror massacres. Their dad was the sole survivor of these massacres on the first attack. And thanks to a famous anonymous author, the events will always follow CJ and their family around. They feel like they can't escape it, and equally that they're not able to move away from the town because it holds so much of their life and their history, right? The stories though are sparking inspiration in a series of copycat killers, and CJ and their family are once again in danger. And this time they don't have their dad to kind of take the fall for them and protect them. I really enjoyed this story. I loved the fast-paced storytelling and the themes that reminded me kind of like Goosebumps. Oh, that's creepy, my lights just dimmed. It reminded me of Goosebumps in kind of just like tone and theme and vibe, and Elsa is weaving in and out of my tripod, so I do apologise about that wobbly timey-wimey stuff. I do feel like the story was, it felt like a little bit over long, so I did find that some scenes and just conversations felt a little bit too repetitive for what they were needed. Like it could have been cut down a little bit. Some things didn't necessarily need to happen to deliver the same or similar effect of impact of the storytelling. We did have some fantastic characters, and I particularly loved Sebas, which was the kind of like love interest, I guess you could say, the new guy into town and the person that caught CJ's eye. I thought he was a fantastic character, and I really loved his just devotion to love, and also just the fact that he was a good person, you know, like he had no hesitancy, which he probably should have, in helping. Basically, I just thought he was a really cool person, and I loved that relationship growing there, whether it was like a friendship, a relationship like romantically, or a familial relationship as well. And I really loved CJ's conversations on bisexuality and gender fluidity. I thought it was like really inspiring to me, and it invoked a lot of emotion, a lot more emotion than I was expecting to feel. So yeah, I really recommend that book if you are in the market for your next YA horror thriller. Just interjecting from the future, I totally forgot to talk about the Dragonette Prophecy Volume 1, which was the graphic novel adaptation of the original novel by T.T. Sutherland, and this is basically an adaptation of the series, which follows 6 or 5 dragonettes who have been prophesied to fulfill this great achievement of stopping the basically civil war between dragons and put a stop to all the violence and torment that's been going since they've existed, and but even before then. And yeah, I thought that it definitely, you know, understandably skimmed on a lot of contextual clues and details and connections that I think wove together a little bit tighter in the fully, you know, written, formatted of the novel. But with that being said, it was still a really enjoyable adaptation, and the illustrations were really beautiful as well. It was nice to see actually, like, in picture form, how these characters were looking and the colors, and oh, it was really pretty. Okay, so the second to last book I want to talk about today is the 5th book in the House of Night series by PC and Kristen Cast. This is Hunted. And in book 5, without trying to spoil anything, Zoe and her friends are kind of thrust into the battle of the House of Night, where, you know, loyalties have changed, sides have swapped, and evil has corrupted the house. Everything that they ever thought they knew about loyalty, power, and love will have changed forever. And honestly, this series is just so addictive. I can't stop listening to them. I wouldn't say they're the best series. They're just really, like, easy, enjoyable entertainment. It's my first time reading this series. I never read them when I was like a teenager, but I just can't get over the poor use of language, the writing, and just the offense that is completely imbued within this story. It is just so not, I guess, politically correct. The way they talk about sexuality, the way they talk about colour, anything. It's just so flippant and rude. It's not good. I know there's works in plans. I don't know if it's at a standstill at the minute, but a couple of months ago they announced that they were making the film at last, so I don't know how they're going to tackle some of the flippant, like, racist, homophobic content that's in here for the big screen for a modern day viewing. I hope they really get a good sensitivity team to cut out all that shit, because that's the really crappy thing about it. It's so addictive, but it's so problematic. But still, I read. I don't know. Give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the last book I'm going to be talking about today is one that I actually have here that I can show you. It is Billie Eilish, From E-Girl to Icon, and this is a biography written by Adrienne Besley. This was basically talking about Billie Eilish's rise to fame. It's researched and recounted by the author that I just mentioned. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. It was interesting to learn a little bit more about the musician that I enjoy. I like her songs. I've liked her songs since Ocean Eyes, but I think I came to it a little bit later. I don't think I heard of her until maybe like a couple of years later, but it was probably Ocean Eyes that I heard of first, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was really cool to kind of dive in a little bit more to her, like, beliefs and experiences within the industry, and kind of just get a picture of what she was like, how her injury as a dancer impacted her kind of transition into singer-songwriter, and her relationship with her brother Phineas. I always have admired that, and just hearing a little bit more about that was even more beautiful, I think. So yeah, 3 out of 5 stars for that. There we have it. That is today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a great day. Let me know what you've been reading, of course, and for now I shall catch you in another video soon. Bye.